Hello, everyone. This is the DraftKings Daily Trot. I am your host, Russell Clay. I have my tea, my Earl Grey. Earl Grey. I was trying to think of a good Earl name, but all I could think of was Earl Watson. So that's not really cutting it this morning. Hopefully, this review of this 10 game DraftKings slate goes better, right? We don't want to be we don't want to be having the Earl Watson of lineups tonight. That's for sure. Starting off at catcher, we're looking at a bunch of guys at the top that are actually pretty solid options, but I'm not sure we're going to be using much of them. Posey against Anderson, I'm not really sold on. I mean, obviously you're always sold on Buster Posey, but in this matchup tonight, Chase, my boy, he's been doing pretty solid of late, so I'm not really attacking him with Giants. I think that's just kind of a neutralizer type of matchup where, oh, there's ghosts. A neutralizer type of matchup where they both even each other out. Vaught, obviously, if he's in the lineup, I'm not sure if he's going to be. If not, then you're looking at Fagley, 3,600. Also another solid option. So I think either catcher, whoever's in the lineup, you're playing with confidence. If you're looking at sort of that San Diego Marlins game, JT Realmuto, realistic option there. In terms of the Diamondbacks, if you want to go at Mike Bolsinger, which I am going to do quite a bit, I think you can look at Chris Herman. He's 4K, is expensive, but I think that might be a little contrarian swerve in a Diamondbacks stack that most people won't own. And then if it's Castillo, I think a lot of people are going to be on him. So either way, I think you kind of look there. That'd be a strong option. Yan Gomes, 3K, always in play, even against Volquez, who hasn't been too strong this year. Kind of a guy I'm looking at for tournaments. Another tournament guy, Tyler Flowers, 2,800. Obviously, you love the matchup against the Reds. And Flowers has actually been, for basically what a min punt play guy, he hasn't been horrible. Obviously, coming off a home run a few days ago. So that's what you're kind of looking at there. Whoa. Hey! 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 Wrangler! Hey! Okay, well, I guess this is happening this morning, guys. We're going to let him tire himself out for a second. Hey! Hold on. Relax. His first appearance on the show, huh? We're going to be quiet for the friends? For the friends? We're going to be quiet? Okay. All right. We're going to get through catcher here. All right, Wrangler? Anyway, back to Tyler Flowers. I like that matchup. I think he's a strong option. And then below, it's going to be tough tonight because you're kind of looking at Cameron Rupp. I don't love that matchup. Tucker Barnhart just hasn't been a great option, even in good spots this year. Kurt Suzuki against Weaver. I haven't loved Suzuki's production so far this year, even though he is in a good spot. So in terms of punts, I don't think you're really looking down too far. I think you want to stick in that 2,800 to 3,500 range in terms of what you're doing with lineup construction. So that's definitely the move for me. So anyway, on to first. Up top, Will Myers. As I mentioned, he's been dominating. I mentioned that on the Pitcher Pod, which you should also check out. 5,100. Wei and Chen, not a perfect matchup by any means for the Padres, but they have been streaking of late. I personally am going with Diamondbacks here. I love the Diamondbacks lineup tonight. Segura, Goldschmidt, et cetera, et cetera. Whoever the catcher is, throw him in there. 5,100. That is delightful. I'm going with Goldschmidt quite a bit tonight, and I think he's a potential cash game bat. So that's what I'm looking at there at the top. If you are paying up, I don't think it's any question it's Goldschmidt. Tommy Joseph, get out of here with that price. No way. Yes, he's been good of late. He had that big two home run game, but he is not a guy you want to pay 4,700 for, even in a good matchup. So we're avoiding that one. Encarnacion has been dominant of late. We're definitely looking at him and Donaldson in that lineup against Eichhoff. Eichhoff is nothing to be worried about, so definitely looking there. Again, I think all these first basemen, high end ones, Victor Martinez, Miguel Cabrera. Once you get past that, and Votto, once you get past that, it really starts to dip down. But those are really solid options tonight, and all guys that are in play for me. So Goldschmidt a step above the rest, but beyond that, that's kind of what you're looking at. And then you go lower. I mean, you got that Chris Carter, Jose Abreu, and Anthony Rizzo sort of tier. You're not really looking at Rizzo tonight because of Scherzer, but Chris Carter obviously has that home run upside, and Abreu obviously has some upside, even though he's been dragging this year. But he's been turning around a little bit of late. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. Brandon Belt against Chase Anderson. Again, I just think that matchup neutralizes itself. I don't really see the Giants bats as strong options. So I guess they could be individual punt plays. I don't mind Brandon Belt as an individual punt play, but based on his position and the guys around him and sort of that matchup, I'm not really buying it. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. In terms of Mike Napoli against Volquez, it's not a bad matchup, but at the same time, I don't think you're targeting him at 3,600. So tournament play, you got to like that, but as far as cash goes, I don't think you're really sticking with that top option. Justin Bohr, not really looking at him either. Adrian Gonzalez against Greinke, obviously not touching him. Zimmerman against Hendricks, not touching him. So you just kind of keep going down the list. Justin Smoke is intriguing. If you don't play Encarnacion, 3,100, he's been hitting pretty high in the lineup, and he's been relatively strong of late with some consistent performances for at least price considered. So I'd definitely take a look at him if you're kind of looking for a value play there. But for the most part, I think this is a position you want to pay up at. Ian Kinsler, second base here. James Shields. Kinsler's been on fire of late. He's really, really the guy that has sort of is one of the main cogs in the wheel in that Tigers lineup. And once he started to get going, they really started to fire on all cylinders. So you can't complain there. 5,300 is expensive, but I'd say he's worth it at this stage. You never know what you're going to get with Shields in his first start with the White Sox. So 5,300 is a lot. That's a lot. Probably not going to be able to fit him in for me, but I'm totally okay if you can find a way to pay up for him. So that's the way I'm looking at that. I definitely like him over Murphy tonight. I don't like that matchup with Hendricks, even though it's righty-lefty. It's not perfect for him. So 4,800, fine for Daniel Murphy, but I'd rather go Kinsler for 500 more. As always, Odor in play, 4,200. Not too expensive. Not going to kill you. Same with Segura. I see them in the same sort of tier tonight, along with Jason Kipnis. Those are kind of the three I'm looking at in that range. Obviously, Kipnis a little cheaper, 500 cheaper than Odor, 3,700. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. And in terms of Segura, as I mentioned, I like him as a stacking option with Goldschmidt. So I think that could be a really optimal play if you even mini stack those two. Dietrich kind of a tier down from them, but I do still like him. I like the matchup with Ray. And I think in terms of the Miami Marlins offense, Dietrich is a solid piece. So if he's in the lineup, definitely look to grab him up. You want to play Ben Zobrist at 3,300, but ultimately you can't do it. It's an avoid against Scherzer. I can't see playing anyone against Scherzer as a viable play. So even if it's the Cubbies, I know we want to do it, but I don't think, unless you want to do it as a leverage play in a tournament where you just stack Cubs and hope Scherzer gets blown up, but that's not a very high percentage play. Profar, on this show we love Profar, so got to throw him in there. 3,100, obviously the better value than what's his face, Odor. So definitely looking at that there, like it quite a bit. Going down here, Cesar Hernandez, not a terrible option at 2,800 against Dickey. Dickey hasn't been bulletproof this year, so that's kind of what you're looking at. Johnny Giaffatella against Ricky Nolasco, 2,600. He's kind of been chilling at the end of that Angels lineup, sort of getting some hits every game. So I do like him. He's been actually pretty solid. He'll keep you afloat if your high-priced guys hit. And I'm assuming that's what the goal is if you throw him in a lineup. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Chris Coughlin might start for the Cubs today. So kind of looking at him as a punt if he does play against Scherzer, just because 2K is 2K. You know how that works. You don't necessarily need anything from a guy who's 2K. Third base here, Danny Valencia, I mentioned you're worried about him with Ramos. So 5,200, worthy of the price. He's just been hitting awesome this year. He's now their 3-hitter, 335 on the year with 10 dingers. So gotta like that for Valencia. Should be able to get at least 1 or 2 hits today. If not, some multi-base hits. So that's what you're looking at there. Like him more than Frazier, like him more than Eduardo Nunez. Then I think it's a teardrop in terms of pricing. And then Donaldson, you definitely like that, especially with Encarnacion and potentially Batista back in the lineup. So definitely liking those. And then, I mean, you can't play Chris Bryant against Scherzer because you got Donaldson right there. So I think those two are, you lock those in as sort of your high price guys at third tonight. And then you kind of go down. Jose Ramirez, 3,400 against Volquez, sure. Profar is really the guy. You probably might do an Odor Profar sort of matchup if you're paying down at third and not getting Donaldson. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. Aaron Hill, if he's in the lineup, not afraid of Matt Cain, think he can get a homer or something random. But then the real value comes at 2,600 with Javier Baez. Obviously had the big night last night. Obviously had the big night 2 nights ago. Your quality bat. You don't want to throw him in there against Scherzer, but let's have a moment of silence before I say this. I don't think we can play Baez tonight. I want to, though. I'm gonna, but you guys shouldn't. He's just been so good of late, and he's in a good spot in the Cubs lineup, and if they can get to him, then he gets that Nationals bullpen, and let's just have a moment of silence for Baez for a second. All right, no Baez tonight, guys. I won't either. All right, over to shortstop. Eduardo Nunez, 4,800, as we mentioned at third as well. I don't hate him against Weaver, but he's not really the guy I'm really looking at there. Corey Seager, gotta love Seager, but can't play him against Greinke, so he's out. Another one of the teams that I looked at when I did the stacking article today, something I was looking at, definitely the Brewers, Villar, Lucroy, Braun, the regular cast of characters. I do like them quite a bit. Maybe throw in a little Hernan to average out the salaries. And I think you're looking at a pretty solid stack there against Matty Kane. We're coming for you, pal. I'm not afraid. So I do like that. Lindor, decent value against Volquez. Again, I like this Indians lineup, especially tonight against Volquez. So I think you can throw those guys around and make a solid stack. If you're paying down, look at Zach Cozart again. Go back to the well. Obviously, he didn't give you quite what you wanted yesterday, but I think he's a guy you can just go back to. He's in a bit of a slump right now, but it's not quite a a Giancarlo Stanton slump. So I think he could hit himself out of it today against Blair. So that's a pretty solid lineup and pretty solid matchup for him. I don't like this, guys. Gregorio Superstar Pettit. That salary keeps inching up. It keeps inching up. 3,300 today. That's a bummer. You know where it's headed. It's headed to that mid to high 3K range, probably by next week. So against Nolasco, not a perfect matchup. I do like him, but it's getting to be where he's actually going to have to produce with the salary you're paying for. So it's not just that punt that he was a few weeks ago, unfortunately. So he is still a solid play, but betting at the end of the Angels lineup, not really that much upside. So probably a fade today at 3,300. As we mentioned, not playing Baez. And we keep moving down, and Addison Russell, not playing him either. The dang Scherzer, man. You see all these Cubs down here, and you get excited for a second, and then you realize, oh yeah, Scherzer. So you can make the leverage play, I think. It's so viable. The Cubs can get to anyone, I think, at this point. So if they can get to him, maybe Bryant hits a homer and sort of opens things up. I could see a leverage play working there, but most range of outcomes are not looking good for the Cubs tonight, so I think we have to avoid. Outfield here. JD Martinez again. I think we have to like the Tigers quite a bit here tonight. JD Martinez as a standalone and as a stack is a solid option. Especially against Shield in his first start for the Sox. Decent park factor, so that's definitely something to look at there. Jay Bruce, gotta love that against Blair again. I think stacking Cincinnati's a really decent option tonight, even though it's a little more expensive and they haven't paid off of late. So Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, not my first pick for a stack, but again, Marlins are all right tonight. I'm okay with them. They all right. You know what I mean? Like, they're a solid option, but not my top option, not my top 3 option. So they're kind of in that gray area of, yeah, I like them, but I wish Giancarlo Stanton was hitting with power, and then I would really like him tonight, but he isn't. So we just got a bunch of guys that kind of chip away. Other than Ozuna, I mean, Ozuna's a beast. I like him as a standalone. Obviously, but other than that, I don't think I'm really stacking Marlins tonight. Duvall, again, I like him. Going back to the well with him, I think a Votto Duvall Cozart stack would be intriguing. But beyond that, you could do a Matt Campbell Myers stack to sort of leverage on Wei and Chen, but I don't think he's going to be that high owned. So I think you might be spiting yourself on that one to something about your face. You know that saying? I know you guys know that saying. You know what I'm talking about. So we're not looking at that too strong. Nomar Mazara finally getting into a range of some values here. I like that play quite a bit against Manea. So again, stack your Rangers most nights. I think they're a fun group. They have some power and they hit for average too at some point. So I like that group. with Profar Odor and a Mazzara or a Rua or whoever you want to throw in there. They've all been good, so don't get too stressed about which ones you throw in. Michael Saunders against Eichhoff, I think, is a solid option in a full Blue Jay stack. I don't think you want to play one of the first three. You want to play all of those first three in the order between Batista, Encarnacion, and Donaldson, and then maybe throw in a Saunders or swap Encarnacion and Smoke and throw in the Saunders as well. So you can do some funky things with Toronto. Either way, I think that's definitely a main stack for tonight. Ryan Braun against Kane. I like that matchup. I think Braun has home run power tonight, so definitely looking at that there. Cameron Maybin. Come on, bro. He is slowly dipping below 400. I thought he was going after Ted Williams for a little while there, but these 0 for 4s and 1 for 5s aren't really cutting it. Still batting 375, but obviously on such a small sample size, it's more of a joke than anything else. Stanton, riding right by him, right, guys? Right by him. Don't touch him, right? Just like you have been. Just like you have been. Nothing. Don't touch him, right? Because he strikes out every night, guys. Yeah, yeah. We're just going to go right by him, right? Yeah, there we go. Go right by him. I see you guys passing by him. Good job. Coco Crisp, another value tonight. He was a value yesterday. Didn't pull it off, but again, I think you go back to that tonight. One of the cheaper outfielders, so definitely someone I'm looking at there. Obviously doesn't have home run power, but can get you with stolen bases, doubles, singles. So I think he can put together a solid game there for sure. Jose Ramirez, as mentioned on third, 3,400. Not a bad punt type of play. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. And then Robbie Grossman. He's bumping up in price, but he's been playing well. So I think you can look at him 3,300 as a guy that you can play and be comfortable with, especially in a matchup against Jared Weaver, who, quite frankly, you have plenty of opportunity against Jared Weaver. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Pilar, another punt in the back of that Blue Jays lineup. He paid off yesterday. I think it's the same sort of deal today where he's not totally high upside, but stranger things have happened. So, I mean, if he can go 2 for 4, 2 for 5, which is what he's done each of the last 3 games, I mean, he's getting you 6 to 10 to 15 points. That's solid, especially with this Blue Jays lineup coming around. So that's what you're looking at there. I want to play Brendan Drury, but he's not going to be in the lineup, so faux pas. Ichiro, baby, 2,800. Let's go. Sign me up. Leading off, 330. Give it to me. If he's in the lineup, obviously he's only been pinch hitting the last few days. But if he is in the lineup, you obviously throw him in there. He's just unbelievable right now. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. Ezequiel Carrera batted leadoff for the Blue Jays yesterday. I'll be interested if he does that again. Obviously, he's probably not going to be in the lineup if Jose Batista is back. But if he is somehow, and I mean, they throw him in that leadoff spot and maybe do Batista, Donaldson, Encarnacion, 2, 3, 4. You definitely want to look at him 2,700. So keep that in mind. Something to look at for sure. Jake Smolinski, I like that matchup again. 2,600 coming off a home run last night. I think he's viable as a punt and sort of someone you're looking at for upside. So there you go, 2,600. Boom. There it is, guys. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the DraftKings Daily Trot. As always, we appreciate it, and we'd appreciate if you'd like and subscribe our videos. If not, that's cool. But at least check out Daily Fantasy Cafe for all our awesome tools and content.